Planning in photography is undoubtedly important, but sometimes it's the little things on the ground that really make the difference. With landscape travel photography, where light is driven by the weather, you are quite often reliant on an element of luck, as my recent trip to the Cotswolds here in the UK demonstrated to me. Cotswolds is the second largest area of outstanding natural beauty in the UK. It's about 800 square miles in size. It's pretty big, but it doesn't have perhaps the hero landscapes that some of the other national parks have, the mountains of the Highlands or Snowdonia, the lakes of the Lake District. So from a photography perspective, it's slightly more challenging. You have to hunt for the heroes. What the Cotswolds does have is that it's quintessentially English. It's peppered with small towns and villages, which in the right light makes the honey-coloured Cotswold stone just light up. I was recently lucky to have a few hours to do photography in the Cotswolds, but it's a big area, so I started my planning and I picked a village called Painswick, which is known as the Queen of the Cotswolds. And some of you may recognise its parish church, the Church of St Mary, which is reported to have been around since about 1066. It has some very impressive yew trees in the graveyard, which really creates that very quintessentially English look. Painswick is an interesting village. It's got that Cotswold feel, the yellow stone buildings. But I wanted to venture out to see if I could get a bit more of a landscape view as well. So I went up to the top of Painswick Beacon, which is a few miles out of the village. The Cotswolds are interesting because you don't get that feeling of height, you don't have the big mountains, you have these rolling hills which gradually climb from Oxford at its eastern point up to the Cotswold Edge, which looks out over the Severn Valley. Painswick Beacon is an Iron Age defensive settlement which now has a golf course running through it, and it sits right on top of the Cotswold Edge. So I thought perhaps by going up here we might get a really good view out over the Severn Valley. I was up here in the middle of the afternoon, so obviously the light was slightly harsh, but when I looked at it, it didn't have quite the wow factor that I was looking for. Actually, the sun would be setting off to the left of where we're looking now. You had sort of the towns of Gloucester and Cheltenham beneath you, which really didn't add to the picture. So I decided to come down from there, drive another half an hour and investigate Cleeve Hill, which is slightly further along the Cotswold Edge, has a slightly more easterly view, so probably better for the sunset, and is the highest point in the Cotswold Hills at just over 1,000 feet. So this is the view from the top of Cleeve Hill. Sorry, it's slightly overexposed as I look into the sun. You've got Cheltenham Racecourse down there. You're looking out over the Severn Estuary and over towards the Malvern Hills. And then we've got a hot air balloon up there, and then you look back around towards the Cotswolds behind me. Bit of a tip if you're out shooting, you'll quite often see a bench in one of my shots, and that's because when you come somewhere new, if you look for where the benches are, you'll probably find some of the best views, but you won't find them on any map. Probably got, I guess, half an hour before the sun goes down and we get to golden hour. I reckon somewhere around here might be quite good, because I've got a beautiful bit of foreground interest in this vibrant yellow gorse, which as the sun goes down in the golden hour, it will really pick up that yellow. It looks up the Severn Valley. There's a nice hot air balloon coming towards me. Hopefully it won't come too quickly. So we've got the makings of something that could be quite good here. But famous last words, you just never know. So I switched over to my 7200 f2.8 f-mount lens to get some extra reach, and as you can see, the hot air balloon is sadly just descending beneath that hill over there, just as I got my beautiful shot set up with the gorse in front of me and the hot air balloon and the valley. But never mind, I think it'll still be quite a good shot once the sun starts going down a bit more. I did think about getting out the little stopper or big stopper from Lee and putting that on the front. However, the direction I'm looking away from the sun, and the fact that there's not really anything in the sky, it's a pretty blue sky, so there wouldn't be anything blurring out, really meant that it was not really required, I don't think, because as the sun starts dropping, so the light will go down anyway. The irony is, for this shot I'm using the f-mount 7200 f2.8 lens, but actually I've got it set to 70 and f8, so I might well do a comparison shot between this lens and the Z-mount 2470 f4 lens, just to see how they look. So we've got the two shots on the screen. Both were taken at 70mm focal length at f8 and 1/160th of a second. And they were taken within a minute of each other, so the light hadn't really changed at all. Let's have a look at them. They both look pretty good on the screen. If we zoom into 1:1, I think they're looking pretty similar. This is in the center of the shot. The one on the left has a very slight edge over the one on the right, but it's really difficult to discern even at 1:1. Let's take it down to the corner, just see what the corners are like. Again, pretty similar in the corner, in the bottom left. Let's take it across the bottom edge to the other corner. There's a bit of grass there. Again, they both look very similar in terms of the crispness, the sharpness of the image, the color rendition. Both looking really very good. I'd be happy with either lens. Now, interestingly, the one on the left here is the f-mount 7200 f2.8, and the one on the right is the Z-mount 2470 f4. So again, the Z-mount lenses giving the top of the range professional f-mount lenses a really good run for their money these days. It's days like today, I'm really looking forward to my 1430 f4 coming. It's a brilliant lens. I had to play with it for a little bit on an afternoon, but the extra 10mm over the 24, taking it down to 14, would give landscapes like this just that extra panoramic feel. Packing my bag this morning, I started off, I had the Z6 with the 50mm lens on it, the Z7 with the 2470 f4 on it, and I had to make a trade-off because I didn't want to carry everything. And I really wanted to bring my 7200 just in case the light was a bit bad, and I wanted to do, instead of wide open landscapes, some detail shots. So in the end I took my Z6 and the 50mm lens out and just kept the Z7 and the 2470 and added the 7200. And I think I'm really glad I did that, because even when you're doing a sunset, sometimes it's the detail. If you just, you can move in. Now I know with the Z7 with that 45 megapixels you can crop in, but I'm still a bit of an old school sort of guy, and I like to crop in camera if I can, wherever possible. Doesn't mean I don't use that functionality that the 45 megapixel sensor gives me, but old habits die hard, they say. It's about half an hour till sunset. So as you can see, the low light is beginning to stream across and create some really nice shadows in the grass. Got a nice position here looking up the Severn Valley across the hills, and nice bit of foreground interest here with the gorse and the yellow beginning to get really vibrant as the sun goes into the golden hour. So hopefully we'll get some really nice shots here. It's not too far to come up here. It's only a 20-minute walk from the car park, so it's not as if I've climbed a massive mountain like some of you do, but it's a really nice area. I just happened to be in the area today, so I thought why not take the opportunity. Never been up here before, so it's a bit of a voyage of discovery, as so much photography is. You can only plan for so much, but it looks like being a really nice sunset. So we'll see what images we get from it. One thing you do have to remember is before the sunset, before the golden hour, is just check things like your battery, check you've got your composition right. Interestingly, with the Z series cameras, I'm getting quite good battery life, whereas the CEPA benchmark was saying about 300 to 400 shots per battery. Yesterday when I was filming some time lapses, I got about 13 to 1400 shots, and I still had about 30% left on the battery, which is not too far short of what I was getting with my D850. One thing you can never plan for with sunset photos is the weather, that's for sure. As the sun's going down, there's a few clouds out there on the horizon, which I'm worried that the sun will go behind them. We might still get a really nice set of colours through the sky, which is possible. But anyway, it's been a lovely evening up here, so we'll just have to wait and see. Shouldn't be long now, probably about another 10 minutes, and we'll see how it's panning out. So as you can see, the sun is going down now. That layer of cloud was quite localized and relatively high, which means it hasn't blocked out the sun. It's just going behind. It's quite hazy today. It's quite spring-like. It's getting quite cold now. It's 13 odd degrees earlier, but now it's dropping back towards probably about 3 degrees tonight. Well, I'm switching lenses a bit this evening. As the sun's gone down, I've gone back to a 24-70 f4. I think we've had the best of the sunset now, so I'm going to probably head off down the hill. So the long trek down comes now. We've got to walk all the way back down. So this is the beautiful view we're leaving behind. The sun just setting over there. As the title of this video implied, there are a number of different dimensions that need to come together to create great landscape photographs. On this occasion I was lucky, I managed to find the right location, the light was great, so I had my luck. However, what I find is, even if the dimensions don't come together, if you're adaptable and you can adjust your shooting style, you can almost always come back with good images. They may not be the ones you went out with in your mind, but they are great nonetheless. And I hope you enjoy a few images I got on this occasion when luck was on my side.